Ladies and gentlemen, the show will commence in 5 minutes. While you are waiting, please hit the like button and share the video link.
Please like and leave a comment, and share this video.
Only 3 minutes until the start. Only 2 minutes until the start.
Please like and subscribe to this channel today, and don't forget to share it and hit that thumbs up. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the awesomeness is about to start in 1 minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, the show is about to begin. Grab a drink and a snack, sit down and enjoy watching the show. Don't forget to comment, like the video, and share it to others.
Hey everybody, welcome to live show 38, live from Minsk, Belarus, and on my left I've got Duke, and we've got a studio guest today, Andrew.
Hi.
2 Americans and 1 Australian.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Matter of fact, Andrew, I think you look not like a terrorist. You look like, what's this?
That's good.
Who's the guy that's in X-Men?
Wolverine.
Yeah.
I don't think I look like him, but I've actually heard that for a long, long time.
I think it's the lighting and the hair color. That's mostly it. Anyway, start off with an insult. Just kidding.
And if you have a look below me, I've got some Russian translation. We're hoping it's working okay. Yeah. And you can read it okay. So let's go. Andrew, can you tell everybody about yourself and your YouTube channel? Just promote yourself.
I have a YouTube, AndroClone1. The name came from when I made it as like a 10-year-old. Just went off that one a few years ago when I started doing non-little kid videos about medicine, fitness, and just some random guy stuff. Got shadow banned though because I talked about certain things that YouTube doesn't like you to talk about. Not a big person on degrees, but gives you a little background with a lot less words. I have a degree in molecular biology, biochemistry, studied a lot on my own, studied in university, studied the human body in university, currently in medical university. Need to get that piece of paper because knowledge doesn't matter if you don't have that piece of paper. Well, it matters. You just can't use it as much.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good background. Technically, I'm a professional bodybuilder. I'm out of shape right now because I got some injuries last year and decided why stay in the best shape if I don't need to.
Actually, no, in Washington, D.C. now, you don't have to have qualifications to be a lawyer.
Yeah, I heard.
You just can decide you're going to be a lawyer. So maybe it'll be a doctor soon.
For medicine, I think that's probably a bad idea, although the degrees, they're not very useful. True. At least it's something. Yeah. At least they know the basics, like high blood pressure, give anti-blood pressure medications. If they're doing sepsis, give them some antibiotics. If people don't need any degrees, not good. Okay. But it would be nice if you could just pass the USMLE without paying for medical school. That could save you a lot of time and money.
Yeah, it costs a fortune.
And are you hearing me okay when I look at you as I speak?
Yeah, it sounds all right.
So you were interested in a lot of the stuff when you were like very young, huh? Medicine or something?
And how'd you get that idea?
Or maybe I misheard.
No, it's true. I made the YouTube when I was like 10 for some random purpose, but
I thought it was about medical things.
No, but I actually started studying medicine and fitness when I was about 10 also. Wow. Started really studying it when I was about 13, but I started working out intensely when I was 10.
Wow. Incredible.
So yeah, for example, when I was in high school, every morning I woke up, I'd be reading medical studies. I'd be reading people talking about their side effects of medications or their experiences with things on message boards. And of course, you need to study everyone around you. It's amazing how many doctors, how many medical students, they say, oh yeah, my mother got this sort of illness. You go, oh, what medication is your mother taking? Oh, I don't know. You're supposedly interested in medicine. You don't know what medication your own mother's taking. You didn't ask her what medication, what side effects, how's it going, all the details. That's where you learn. Every single person you know, you need to be studying them.
Yeah.
I was surprised during the in 2020, friend's father had something, and then he was sick. And I said to him, well, didn't you say to the doctor he was okay before then, and then he had something, and then he wasn't? And they said, no, they still don't know what it is. I'm like, okay, whatever. That was in England, in London.
Of course, sadly, all over the world.
Yeah.
And it can't be that thing because that's not listed on the list of side effects.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah. I think just people don't pay them. I mean, doctors and hospitals and things, and it's like, I don't know. I guess just like what you're saying, I don't think they pay enough attention to what caused this person. They just, it's like, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, like the world has moved for quite some time now into treating symptoms, but maybe not even looking at the cause of the symptoms and things like that.
And, I'm not saying that all doctors are like this, and I typically refer to them as people who work as doctors. It's like, just because you got an art degree doesn't make you an artist.
Yeah.
But the problem with them is they're actors. They go to university, they're given a script, they memorize the script, and then they execute the script. And they repeat, And what's funny is people think they gain experience by working, and they do gain some experience, but the problem is when you just repeat the script each day, your experience is all contained within certain parameters that you were told to work within. So then you're like, oh, well, this is the best possible outcome, and this is the worst, when in reality, that's the best possible outcome. You just didn't know how to do stuff to get that outcome.
Wow, yeah, true.
It's very sad. I know a woman right now, hopefully she survives, she has sepsis. Doctor didn't listen to my... not medical advice, because I don't have a medical license, but didn't listen to my medical information. It's not trying to take the credit of something that didn't happen, but she wouldn't be in sepsis right now if they had listened to me. So many people die from medical ignorance and malpractice.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Talk about medical malpractice. We could talk about the...
Oh, and part of the reason I'm so into it is because I got a bunch of injuries when I was younger. Went to a lot of doctors and got more injuries. And then I got really sick.
Jeez.
Started with wrestling injuries, then physical therapist injured me. Then a doctor gave me a bad corticosteroid injection, hit my axillary nerve.
Wow.
When I was 12, I had pain where the appendix is. And then one doctor said, yeah, you've got appendicitis. And then they got another one. He said, no, you haven't. And then the next one said, yes, you have. And then the next one said, you had. So I just discharged myself and left. Guess what? Still got it.
I went in for appendicitis one time, but luckily they didn't take it out. Everything was good.
Yeah. Yeah. So ever since then, I didn't trust.
You guys know more about the stuff than I do. So I just... I had a cousin who was I could say in the area, a very famous... well-known doctor. He got the President's Medal in the university. He went all the way through the university. He had the highest grade point average. And he would actually agree with you. He would say that, he said one of the biggest secrets to getting good grades is having a symbiotic relationship with the professor. Because there were classes where, I remember that certain classes that you have to take to get into medical school, like physics, and normally the highest grade is a D. That's barely passing.
That's like I had a computer programming for chemistry class, and that was about the average grade.
Yeah. But this guy got A's in everything. And it was, like he said, I don't know. Some people have this art, and I've seen them.
Of how to get with the professor.
Yeah, or even in a language class. Take a Russian class, and there's a guy... Actually, we only had 4 students in our class, but the teacher would talk with one guy the whole time. And he's not a bad guy. I like the guy, and I would have been tempted to too. He's a super nice guy from Chile, and his Russian was better than most everybody anyway in the class. And yet here she's spending the time with him and then there's a guy from Iran. She talked the least amount. He wasn't very a talkative person, and then there was a guy from Syria. He got the second the most amount. And then I was the third. But before those 2 guys came, I was the one that got, it was only 2 of us for some weeks. And I got most of the attention. I thought that was great. I got to talk.
And typically if a professor sees that you're really interested, they'll naturally, give you a little higher marks.
Well, I'm interested, but it's like, you notice when somebody's talking to you and they don't really want to, they start to turn their head over, to somebody else or something. It's like, well, okay. And it's, because the other guy might be more interesting or something. I don't know. Because he spoke more Russian, and that's why he was more interesting. One main reason. I was a lot handsomer, but no, I don't know. Just kidding.
Hey, quick question: how long have you been here in Minsk?
I've been living here for, let's just say, about 3 years. Been coming here about 6.5.
Okay. Are you married to a Belarusian?
Yep, got my fat wedding ring on my finger right now. I got 2, one for when I'm dieted down, and one for when I'm not dieted down.
All right. Okay. So we're all married to Belarusians here.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah.
A lot of guys come here looking for wives, and very few actually get wives.
Yeah, a lot of them.
I met mine in Paris.
When I was
mine in
overseas,
Paris.
they said, I want to stay in contact with you because I want a Belarusian wife or a woman, or it's very strange. So it's like a lot of people watching. This is probably good information for the young single guys. The women here, most of them, they have long hair, and they don't cut it off. Like in the States, maybe you got a variation, but most of them here have long hair. for the most part, take care of themselves. You don't see any real obese women or anything.
Yeah, you got a few, but it's just, probably it's their genetics. You don't have slob women here. Like in the West, they're all slobs. They don't
fat
care.
slobs, Western fat slobs. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be careful when I look over and talk to you, but you hear me just fine.
Yeah, I can hear you through this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a big shout out to Rolf in New York, who's going through chats and moderating them. Thanks for that, Rolf.
Yeah, Ralph, our good friend. Yeah. If you ever come on again, you'll meet Ralph.
Interesting. I never thought that you would actually have to moderate the chats live to make sure there's nothing bad on there.
Yeah, well, some people will say stuff.
Yeah.
There you go.
But we should talk some news before we get too far into this, and we don't get into anything, and people get pissed off at us and they unsubscribe. We have a video to start this off of Lloyd Austin, and he gets asked a question, and he's usually used to the talking point of maybe amongst his deep state people or whatever, if you want to call them that, people in the know.
If you want to hear the video
of his buddies, but he has to answer a question, and he's trying to think of the answer for public consumption that that they want the people to.
How much
think.
is this? 300 billion, isn't it? Isn't this about the 300 billion?
This one is Austin struggles to answer. I called it anyway.
What does victory look like for Ukraine? How do you define victory?
You may have heard me say this earlier, Senator, but we've said from the very beginning that what we want to see is a Ukraine that's a democratic country that has that is independent and has the ability to protect its sovereign territory, to defend its sovereign territory, and to deter aggression.
Does that mean Crimea is part of Ukraine?
Crimea is a part of Ukraine.
Well, okay, right. But in order for the war to be over, does Ukraine have to control Crimea?
In terms of how things transition,
NATO has to
going
control.
forward. I would not want to predict what President Zelensky will decide.
I think part of the problem,
you will decide
with
for
all due
him?
respect, is that this administration has not articulated what an exit strategy is. To me, this is a blank check for a war that, without any clearly defined goals, will be endless. And that is so. The skepticism among I didn't vote for the supplemental because I don't think that we don't have adequate controls on how the money is being spent. Victory hasn't been defined.
Victory is a strategic defeat of Russia where NATO takes Crimea and U.S. corporations get control of Russia's resources and they become the masters of the universe.
I think you're exactly right.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. No Americans voted to send all this money to Ukraine.
Yeah, isn't that's called democracy, I guess.
Well, that's in every Western country, Germany, UK, everything. No?
They're doing really good with democracy in Ukraine. They canceled elections.
Yes.
Yeah. You'll fit in fine with us.
Cancelled, suppressed the religion.
Oh yeah.
Suppressed
but you don't
opposition
need religion
parties
when you have legal marijuana, and soon they'll
and
have
gay
the
sex
LGBT
and gay sex
stuff. Yeah.
and gay sex. Yeah.
You see all of those people joining up in the military with the people coming to pick them up. They get a free ride, in the vans, and the guys assist them to get into the vans.
Yeah.
Called mobilization recruiters or whatever. Give them a.
Maybe their LGBT allies would like to go over and help them.
Yeah.
Yes, please send them.
Yeah, we have another one. We can show that. Dave.
I don't think so.
It's the one our father.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just remember, if they come, it's yours.
Yeah. I'll tell them that you made me say no. They'll. It's just what they're doing in Ukraine. We're not promoting this, but it's how they start them off young in the indoctrination process in Ukraine, and I'm sure that they don't like that here in the Russia and Belarus, other northern Slavic countries.
Okay.
So listen, our father is Bandera. How they sing. Something or other. Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah, I know the indoctrination. I mean, it's like I remember even reading about it. You know that like in like say the 1950s, and it's kind of a weird time because it's very similar to what is going on now. And there's other you see these elements, so they keep popping up, and it's like what happened. You know, Bandera. He had offshoots. It was 2 offshoots. He was still alive. I don't know if he was still in a prison in Germany at that time. But anyway, the U.S. didn't use Bandera, but they used the offshoots. And I think the British were using Bandera. You know, I'm talking about after World War II, I think. And then, of course, the USA was running, you could just say terrorist act. Well, I can't say
all
that.
over the whole
No, this
world.
is YouTube. They're running operations in the Soviet space, you know, helping people, you know, end their life on this world and things like that. And I'm not even sure if that really continued the whole. Maybe it calmed down to a certain extent. It was not like something like massive like what's going on right now. But I remember they were, because you can read about it. You know, things like that were happening, and you know the British were using somebody different, and you know the Germans at one time were using Bandera. He was in a prison and he was running his operations at that time. But he was, I think they were thinking that he, they put him in prison because he was too, what do you call it, aggressive, and I think they believed that he would go off on his own or whatever.
Couldn't control him well enough.
Yeah, mostly that's what it is. They couldn't really control him, but you know they kept his operations going and let him keep controlling it, and you know you probably heard, what was he saying, at the OUN or ONU, whatever, the, you know, the Ukrainian party, when he was in Lvov or something, he was gonna and he killed a whole bunch of Jews, and he said we'll roll their heads in front of Hitler or something. You know, he was far more nasty than the German nasties were.
Yeah, most World War II
I think that
historians
scared
that I
them.
know, they always say that the Ukrainians were the most cruel ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, most of the guards in the camps were Ukrainians.
Interesting.
I think they scared the Germans because they were too far gone.
Well, and then there's a great movie called, having a mental blank on the name.
It's
But
weird.
there's a
When
movie.
the camera goes on, your mind goes blank.
I think it was the Polish name was something like Volin, or I don't remember, but it was about a girl growing up. I don't remember if it was technically Poland or I think it was technically Poland near the Ukrainian border before World War II, when the Ukrainians come and start wrapping them in hay and lighting them on fire, raping the girls.
Yeah, we've been, and you've probably been to some of the places here in Belarus and seen or heard of the atrocities.
Oh, and I've heard from people here about what people did to their grandparents and great-grandparents.
Yeah.
It's always interesting to ask people very specific questions to get objective information rather than just getting their feelings about something. Get objective facts to paint a picture.
Yeah. On this day, April 10th, 1944, that's when the Red Army liberated Odessa from the nasties. Just in case anybody is interested in that. I saw that.
This year is 81 years when Minsk got liberated.
Oh,
this year.
Okay, yeah, that's. I guess we'll always be hearing about this stuff in, like when, you know, I always remember the date when they attacked the Soviet Union on June 22nd, 1941. You know, so good to remember these facts, I guess. And you know, it's like, because Belarus, as you know, because you're from the States like me, you never hear about it. I mean, you never hear about what happened to Belarus in.
Oh, and in the States, they teach America came over and defeated Germany.
Yeah.
You know, sent Russia some weapons, and then America came over with Britain and defeated Germany.
Yeah. But you know, you see some
Well,
honest people.
that's what all the movies. It's always Americans winning.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when I saw Paul Craig Roberts, and I actually, even though I'm not, you know, it's like, because you know, you forget this stuff because you hear it so much. You know, that when you do hear the truth, it doesn't last very long, and it kind of fades out until you hear it again and say, oh, yeah, I did hear that. It was like this, used to be the Assistant Secretary of the Treasury, Paul Craig Roberts. They call him the father of Reaganomics. And he was saying, and maybe that's one reason why you don't see him very much, is because it was actually Russia that defeated the nasties. So,
and the name of that movie, the Polish movie, was Hatred in English.
Oh, right.
Wow.
Yeah.
And yeah, I met someone here who that movie is very, very similar to their grandmother's story.
Wow. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff that, and over the years when we're living here, we're going to hear a lot
As
more.
we keep saying, just over 25% of people got killed here.
Yeah.
What's interesting is it seems to have been, well, I mean, not a surprise, but that it was mostly Jews that were killed. Combatants and Jews.
Yeah.
But if you were a non-combatant Slav, it seems like you had a pretty low chance of being killed.
I was thinking the other day, and I'm sitting there in the
Yes,
bus
'cause,
or walking around, and I'm noticing a lot of them are blonde and blue, blue eyes and blonde hair. And I'm thinking, because they were saying, oh, the ideal superior people to these nasties are blonde hair, blue eyed people. So maybe that's why they were saying, oh, they're actually quite advanced people, or their genetics. So
The Germans like the Ukrainians.
Yeah, they're also like blonde hair, blue eyes, a lot of them. So.
And they like them now.
Yeah.
It's funny, Germany back in the day, they wanted to make a European Union, one big singular Europe, and what do we have nowadays? A big European Union.
There was a meeting.
And who's leading it?
Who's leading it?
Those that are descendants of.
There was a meeting at the end of the war in Salzburg. It's called the Little Red Door, and all the German business leaders got together, and all the high command and all that. And that's when they changed the laws to be able to send money out of the country and gold and all that. And if you have a look at what they wanted to do afterwards, after the war, because they knew it was lost, it sounds a lot like the EU. So.
I mean, it's not rocket science to make the connections.
No. And as I said last time, Stalin wanted to kill the top 60,000, right? I don't know if you know that.
I don't know.
Yeah, they wanted to kill the top 60,000. And Roosevelt thought he was joking. He said, oh, why not 80? Anyway, but Stalin wasn't joking. He just wanted to get the top 80,000.
To dismantle the leadership, essentially.
Business and everything. Business leaders, the whole lot, right down and all that.
Yeah, the invisible leadership. Many people, they just look at the visible things, whether it's laws or leaders or borders.
Yeah.
But then we wouldn't have Klaus Schwab today or van der Leyen.
Even the judiciary, after the war, they just went from persecuting Jews and then they just switched over to the latest laws and they just kept going, the judges and all that. Nothing changed. And a lot of the German generals and all that, they're in NATO.
Yeah, or the scientists that got brought to the United States.
Oh, yeah. Operation Paperclip.
Yeah. You guys also heard about Janet Yellen. She's threatening China if they keep. They said, I think the deal is
she wanted to stop producing so much.
Yeah, well, it's kind of
China
weird.
said, well, it's a market economy.
They say it's possible that some of these firms could be supplying Russia with some technology that could be used in this thing. So stop it. It's like, stop it, because it could be that you are doing this, but they have no,
It's really disgusting how they try to cut off Russia and Belarus from everything. And then the people here, a lot of the young people especially, they think that it's their country that's closing them off from the rest of the world, when it's the rest of the world closing you off, trying to make you miserable and hate your own country.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like, I saw something and it really interested me, and it was like the Polish leadership, and I don't even remember who that person was. It wasn't really a big high person, but it was an official of some sort, saying that and they didn't even say Poland or Belarus, but after hearing this, I just kind of watched. I said they meant Belarus, that they were doing some sort of a media what is it called, brainwashing, indoctrination, sort of a deal to I don't know the right word, because it's not really indoctrinating or brainwashing, but it's to win the hearts and minds of people to what they normally would never agree with. And you guys know there's operations like this all the time, and that's exactly what because I'm sitting here thinking about the Belarusians. You start to look around the world and you're saying, well, what is a good country to live in? What do you want? Oh, you want low crime, you want jobs, you don't want wars. and all this sort of thing.
You got it all here.
Yeah, and then you start to think, and you want good infrastructure, nice roads. I mean, when you start going down the list, you say, well, hey, that's Belarus. And then it's like, and then you hear some people, say, well, that they want to go to the West, and then maybe they want to sit on the street and take drugs.
Yeah, the West is falling apart. The streets are in disarray. I'm from California. I don't know if they're done with the 405 yet, but they spent like 10 years redoing the 405 freeway.
Wow.
They built a bridge in Long Beach. It took them 7 years and I think $900 something million. My wife asked me, "Oh, is it one of the longest bridges in the world?" No, it's not. It's some little short bridge, like a quarter-mile long.
Look at how fast did they build the Kerch Bridge in Crimea? Like a couple of years.
Well, no, the nets on the LA bridge, to stop people jumping off.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Oh, well, they put nets up, but that cost just as much as building the bridge.
Of course.
And that bridge that just got taken down by the ship, they said that's going to take 10 plus years to build. Yeah.
I saw a meme that joked it had the, can't remember his name, but the actor from the movie falling down. It said, just imagine.
Michael Douglas?
Michael Douglas. Just imagine that bridge is going to take 2 years to be rebuilt, and you're going to have to change your commute to work for like the next 2 years. And I'm thinking it's going to be 10 years.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, I'm just so amazed how fast China and Russia
it's not all corrupt.
And Belarus, remember the bridge that collapsed
because that was a really small bridge, but still, that would take a long time in America.
Well, I was in St. Vincent, and they got this little bridge, and it's, I think, smaller, and it took quite a few years to make that, and it's not as high, and there was some special thing because there's at certain times in the rainy season, a lot of water goes underneath. You did have to build it well, but it took many, many years, and then that's the pride and joy of the whole country. And I'm sitting there thinking, what, where?
I think the problem is in America, it's so corrupt. They're just trying to milk every dollar they can possibly get out of it. Because it's like 2 guys could build the freeway faster than their whole team. It takes 10 years.
Yeah.
And this is like a 20-mile stretch.
I tell you what, just when you just mentioned this corruption and all this, it's kind of like looking at Ukraine, and we all know that Ukraine is, everybody tries to get what they can, as much as they can, and and so you get this money pumping into Ukraine, and a good portion of it just takes off in different direction. Nobody knows what happened to it, and the money earmarked to go to some sort of a project or anything, turns out to be 30% of what it was supposed to be. But then you have all these lower officials and everything. They all have these big houses, and
I can't remember who it was, but I know somebody that had a friend doing like commercials in Ukraine, and they were getting funding from the European Union. And then one day they found out how much funding they were getting, and they're like, where is all this money? Like, we've barely had enough money to do anything, and apparently we have like $50 million.
Yeah. But yet there's a couple of officials in that company that have really big houses and nice multiple new cars and everything. Like,
it's amazing. Like, if anyone who's been to Ukraine who's not someone that walks around with a blindfold on would realize it's a very corrupt country, and laws don't really matter over there. What matters is money.
Yeah, well, money talks, I guess. But Janet Yellen, like demanding that China join the Western sanctions bandwagon. Of course, they stopped talking about that now, but they just started making up some other sort of deals about Russia. And remember when they were saying that Iran is selling drones to Russia, and it turns out they did some drones before the special military operation, and Iran keeps saying, we're not sending any drones, and Russia keeps saying, we're making all these drones on our own, we're not getting them. And then the artillery shells from Korea, and there's no evidence that Korea is sending any evidence.
We'll talk about a real crime is using those uranium artillery rounds and making Ukraine a radioactive wasteland. That's the best farmland of all of Europe, and now it's all contaminated.
I'll tell you. And then, like, just another point like that we're going to talk about today, which we can talk now, is this attack on the Zaporozhia nuclear power plant.
It's crazy. It's suicidal.
Yeah. Yeah, I got some
but you
quotes
got
here.
Psychopaths that want that to happen.
And nobody, and there's some, I don't know his name. Maybe we can get to it. But there was some British nuclear physicist or something like that saying that he doesn't believe these people know what they're doing. They don't really know.
They just tell him it's some random building, fly the drones into it.
Yep, they've been doing this for years. I mean, they did it for a while, then they stopped, and now they're starting it up again because there's no other way they can well, they still can't win the war that way. What they can do is poison most of Europe, I guess.
Yeah, I don't even know that I'd want to eat food grown in Ukraine anymore. I don't know how many of those tank rounds were used, but...
Well, you heard about a lot of this stuff, and that's why they're having these protests, these farmer protests all over Europe, and Poland is blocking the border and all this because they're giving preferential tariffs to the Ukrainians, where they're letting it in without tariffs. So they get to sell all of their things, and nobody wants to buy all the other produce from, Brussels or all these other countries, is because it costs much more. And instead they're getting the Ukrainian thing. And it turns out that most of this grain is like contaminated. It's low quality and contaminated, but everybody apparently goes for the low price rather than the quality, especially now because inflation, people have less money. So you're going to be saying, well, I don't have the money anymore. I have to pay so much for heating and for rent. So I'm just going to buy the cheapest product. And that happens to be made from the grain from Ukraine.
And speaking of money and stuff, not that any country is a perfect paradise, but a lot of Belarusians don't realize how many opportunities they have here. For example, you got free education. So let's say you go to medical school. Your parents don't have to pay for you to go to medical school. You don't take out a debt to go to medical school. You go for free. You graduate. Now you're supposed to work for 5 years where the government assigns you. But during 5 years, so what? First of all, of course, the young kids are like, oh, I don't want to live outside the big city. But during that 5 years, you get free housing. Now, I think it costs like $10 a month, but free housing. So now you're saving all your paycheck instead of putting it towards your rent. Save that up. 5 years later, you can buy your first apartment. Work, now you're not paying rent. Save up more. Maybe sell that apartment. Use your money you saved up, buy a bigger one. Oh, guess what? Now your wife's pregnant, having kids. You get money for the kids.
Oh, yeah. It's like what they call in Germany, Kindergeld and stuff. They want you to have children. Belarus is actually quite underpopulated. 10 million people? And it was even underpopulated like in World War II times. And so, they, like you compare to Ukraine, Ukraine is getting less and less populated now very quickly.
But I think they said they're going to bring in people from the Middle East to repopulate it.
Yeah. Good luck on that one.
If you have a look on the screen here, this is possible consequences of an accident at that nuclear power plant. And if you have a look,
I'm glad it doesn't go to Minsk.
Yeah, it's kind of strange because it's like, luckily it's far south. It's going to get
southern Belarus.
Yeah, again, Gomel area probably, huh?
Yeah,
and Pinsk,
like Chernobyl area. Pinsk looks like it's going to get it.
Yeah, so
looks like Baranovic is going to be left out. What about Brest? Brest maybe as well. And what's it, Grodno?
Such insanity what's going on in the world right now.
Yeah, and that's another reason to be here. And it's like you go to the West, and drugs and shoplifting, and and they're taking all this tax money. They keep raising the taxes to make more weapons to send to Israel and to Ukraine, and then they wonder, oh, inflation, where is that coming from? And they're stealing a lot of money over there too. And over here, you have, he is admittedly an authoritarian leader, but I tell you what, I would take Lukashenko over 99% of any of the leaders in the world because, he doesn't have a harem, and he's not he's obviously all leaders are privileged, but I'll tell you what, I wouldn't want to be him or any other leader because you can't walk freely on the streets.
Yeah, I told my wife, he can't go to California and go to the beach if he wants. He can't go to Hawaii.
I don't know how Joe Biden can sit on a chair on a beach and eat ice cream, but
big security team.
Yeah, he's not working. He gets up at 10 in the morning.
And a big naval ship off the coast there, sitting there, and helicopters flying around.
Yeah, it's like, you look at, I don't know, Lukashenko is always somewhere.
And he visits all the small cities. He actually talks to people, and
he finds out what's going on.
Yeah, if someone's like, "Hey, this grocery store has this problem or something," he actually fixes it.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the problem with the apartments somewhere towards the edge of the city?
Yeah.
There was some issue with the foreigners not being able to get residency or something. I don't know. Lukashenko heard about it, fixed it. It's that simple.
Yeah.
I heard once there was some lady.
As he says, it's good to be the dictator.
You get stuff done.
Yeah.
There was some lady beating her dog or something.
I love that.
Public. Yeah. I just heard about it, and it was on like YouTube or something, or on somebody put it
The
on.
dog's on the leash, and it goes flying up. It comes back down. She kicks it again. It goes flying again.
And he put her in front of the court, huh?
Well, she ended up in the ICU, and her dog ended up a present to his hockey coach.
Oh, wow.
He brought it out on the ice.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
It's funny. I've told that to a lot of people, and some people actually, that's horrible. It's like, really? It's horrible?
I'll bet you get the same thing that Dave and I get, and every other person that comes from English-speaking, at least, West. They say, why would you come here? Why did you come to Belarus? You know, when you were living over there.
You know what I like to tell people in the West that talk about like Belarus or Russia being a bad place or the leaders being bad? I say, okay, I don't care about any of your theory. I don't care about any of these laws or nothing matters but the results. Come here. It's safe. It's clean. People are happy. Kids are running around outside.
Yeah.
You know, that's what matters.
They all have nice clothing. It's like you still see some people that are like, I don't know if they're homeless, but it's like some that are in alcohol, you know. And
yeah, no place is perfect. You're always going to have some alcoholics.
Well,
Technically,
they always say there's going to be 2% of the people that are not going to, they're going to try not to work, and they're not going to be
now in Belarus,
every country.
I believe you actually have to pay to be unemployed. Because
it's a parasite tax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what bothers me, actually, is when I meet foreigners here who take advantage of everything Belarus has to offer. They take advantage of the peacefulness, the cleanness, not needing COVID vaccines, the freedom, the girls, the cheap cost of living compared to their home country. And then they don't want to contribute in any way. They never leave a tip. They don't pay taxes. And they're just trying to take. It's like, you came here because it's good. You complain about where you came from. You even complain that too many people are just taking from the system. Yet you come to this great place and you just want to take.
He's cool, isn't he, Dave? You said that better than we've been trying to say that kind of things for, well, not that the people taking, but trying to be a lot more promoting to Belarus. And then it's like, what? You know what? It's so much better here. But how? You know, and at least you can maybe
just look at the results.
Contact that within your, and you can put it in words. We're not maybe as good at that. Yeah. But I was just coming today when the weather's good. You know, in the winter, it's like, you know, just like everywhere. When it has like winter with some snow and it's gray and the sun doesn't come out very often. When the sun comes out in the winter, it's beautiful here. But now it's starting to get so nice, and you see, you know, these lovely girls walking with their boyfriends, unfortunately. Well, with their boyfriends or their kids, you know. Well, I mean, they're just people relaxing and walking, and it's like, gosh, you know, I don't even remember ever, you know, and they have sidewalks and things. And where I lived in the West, we had very few places had sidewalks. And if you're going to walk kind of in the gravelly side of the road and worry if a car swerves over.
And did you ever see people holding hands?
Yeah. Even girls hold hands.
But I mean, where you're from, did you ever see couples holding hands? Because if you go to California, you don't see guys and girls walking around holding hands.
Relaxing, walking and things. And it's like, wow.
Sitting on benches, just looking out, talking with each other.
Yeah. And the kids, and there's no graffiti anywhere. And the kids are respectful to people, you know, older or other kids. That they don't take guns to school. They don't really fight in school. Probably not very often anyway.
I was really happy. Months ago, I saw a kid underneath one of the overpasses over here. I don't remember if it was a piece of gravel or a piece of metal. And he's just throwing it against the wall, picks it up. Like, this is like a 7-year-old kid, 10-year-old kid. I'm like, that's awesome. The kid's playing with a rock or whatever.
Yeah.
You got stupid people. Oh, that's horrible. He should have real toys. Like, you know, people need to enjoy, like, being kids. Like, go explore random places, play with sticks.
When I was living
in you can see real young kids here just walking about, no problems.
Yeah, I was out the other night doing some leg raises in a little playground area near my apartment, and this girl, probably 15 years old, goes and sits on a swing near me. And I'm thinking, because, you know, I still have my America mindset, like, oh, she's going to be afraid of me. Because, you know, in America, it's 9 o'clock at night, it's dark outside. A girl's not going to just sit on a swing next to a random guy. And then a little, like, 10-year-old boy walks by, and I'm thinking, this is so amazing.
Exactly.
And I think it's a special type of evil when anyone wants to destroy this, because this is something special.
Yeah, my thought exactly. And I'm sitting there wondering, you know, and this all this stuff coming from the West, and it's like they're sitting there. Well, we got to get LGBT there, and
Evil.
and all this kind of, you know. And you look at like these people like Trudeau and Macron, and they get up there, and it's like some people that are highly trained, like used car salesman thing, and then they're talking about democracy, like even Zelensky, he's catching
they do
on
their
really
whole
well.
righteous act.
Yeah, and how bad and evil like Lukashenko or Putin is. Putin, he kidnapped all these children from Ukraine when in fact he rescued them. And what was it? We heard it was something in the news in these past days when they found in some hole. And I think it was, I don't know if I think they found like children, like they're like decomposed sort of thing, and a guy, and it turns out this guy's some kind of a foreigner, and they were doing something.
US Ranger.
Oh, they knew who he was, and something to do with, and they had like I don't know if they had on a phone, but there's like child pornography and all this, and it's like, you know, Ukraine, I don't know, is Ukraine lost already or?
Lost in what regard?
Yeah.
I mean, what's
well,
left?
Lost as far as their society and everything. I mean, I don't know. I tell you what, it makes you wonder. You know, Putin said, "Oh, demilitarize and denazify." Oops, so we're still on YouTube. Well, no, I guess we can say that on YouTube. But anyhow, and it's like, well, I'm always thinking. I don't know if it's ever crossed your mind. You say, well, how can you actually save that country? You know.
Well, I'll give you something good now. It's only how it looked. I don't know the mindsets of the people, but a friend of mine who lives in Kiev, he sent me some videos the other day, and I was pretty surprised because it actually looked pretty similar to here. You know, just people out walking around enjoying the nice weather. You know,
I saw one
wearing their nice skirts
today. A video like that. Yeah, but I've seen that too. I've seen, and it's like, but the underlying, you know, it's not like they're. I don't know. I think it's at what, you know, they're bringing this stuff in, and it yet hasn't taken hold of society so much, the LGBT kind of stuff and all that. But, you know, there's a lot of people in the States that don't go for this stuff either, you know, so they're, you know, nice and all that too.
Yeah, but in the West, it's forced on you by the governments.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's...
And then the Western governments, if you want aid in Africa, you got to put this crap in as well.
Oh my!
I like it here. You know, once I left the phone and my GPS on the car, you know, on the dashboard, I woke up in the morning and went, oh shit, I went down there, nothing wrong.
Yep, it's fine.
Yeah, I know. Like in Holland and stuff, you do that. It's gone. It's gone in a couple hours.
Oh, yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of that indoctrination, when I was in university in California, I would. You know, I don't like to be a complaining person, but when you're going to university each day and they're pushing it on you, and I actually had two professors fail me for being a white guy. One literally said there's nothing more that he hates in the entire world than teenage white boys. You know, not rapists, not murderers, not anybody, teenage white boys. And what a coincidence, I failed that class.
Oh,
it was actually an English writing class. Most other students were Chinese. They came up to me afterwards. They go, "Oh, I'm so glad I got a B or I got a C. What did you get?" I go, D-. They go, "How's that possible? You were so good." Well, it happened. But the reason I brought this up is I used to be talking with my father about it, and he'd go, stop complaining about it. You know, it's just a couple short years. And I go, what about when I have kids and they're going to be from, you know, preschool or kindergarten, starting at age 3 until they're at least 18, they got to be exposed to this stuff. Then if they want to go to university, that's from age 3 until age 22. What if they want to go to medical school? Now age 3 to 26, 27. That's a long time being tortured and exposed to this stuff. And I don't want to take the risk. What if my kids somehow fall for it?
That reminds me of a professor I had too. He was a biology. And I was wondering why I was the only male in the class. I was, I don't know, like 35. It was over 30. And I'm saying, I'm the only male in the class. You know, and a lot of these were nursing students, but it was biology 101, a really, really, really hard class. This guy, he went far beyond what you're supposed to. So you had to study a lot in that class. And in it, he said, like, males are inferior to females. You know, he's talking about the XY chromosome.
Did you hear
thing.
that apparently females used to be the best hunters, not males?
This could be.
Yeah, scientists are now saying that females are more evolved for hunting and men for staying at home.
Of course.
Yeah. But anyway, this guy...
It's like the Ukrainians. dug the Black Sea out with their hands. Jesus Christ was Ukrainian.
Yeah, you already know
I
that.
hadn't heard about that.
You didn't hear about that?
First Europeans, Ukrainian.
Yeah. Oh gosh. But anyway, this guy is. I put so much into this class, and then I called the office to make sure when the final, because he was having it early in the morning, and it turns out, he had said, I thought he had said 7:30, but the school doesn't open. I think in the first final started at 8:30, so I'm thinking it can't be 7:30. So anyway, I said, oh well, I'll go at 8 o'clock or something, half hour before this, or I don't know. But anyway, I came in a late, and here I knew this stuff so well that I could write they're all essay questions, and I could write so much into detail. And then I think I even finished all of them, all the questions, and I had most all the detail. And he was looking for little things on my paper specifically to give me a lower score, even though mine was far, far, far exceeding everybody else's basically in the class, except some were a little bit short, but they were still just the same length as the other answers from other people. And then one or two other people came in late, and he said they can take the test over again if they want. And I said, I came in late too. Can I do that? And he just looks at me and goes, kind of smiles like that. So I got a B, but I should have got an A. I was trying for an A because I was trying for straight A's in the university, and he ruined it.
I don't care at all about grades now, because now they don't matter for me. If they mattered for something, I'd care. It gets me. Like, I'm not gonna say who exactly, but I know certain people. They're in university. Their grades don't matter for anything, and they will cry in front of these are adults, full-grown adults.
Mm-hmm.
They will even cry and beg to the professor to give them a better grade.
Well, mostly,
this is people it doesn't even matter for.
Yeah, to me, it was kind of mattering because I realized then you can't get into any of the other schools.
Yeah,
like, say if you
want
to go to law school,
yeah.
If you don't have the higher grade point average and do well on the test. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, I want to get all these good grades. I didn't need necessarily, because this was like my second term or something, and I was doing really well. And I wanted to get as many A's as I could.
If you want to go to medical school or law school, you need the grades.
Definitely in medical school, yeah. And then when you get, say, like I told you about some of these other classes where the highest score is a D,
Yeah, luckily they weighed it.
Yeah, but anyway, that's what that was about. But anyway, what was some other news? This is getting too fascinating to talk on all these subjects, without we're not getting to the news. Yeah, we were talking last week about the hoaxes, Maria Zakharova mentioning the U.S. and all the hoaxes in the information media, but most everything, it seems today, is a hoax. It's the part to convince Western and possibly the global public to keep the war taxes flowing, where politicians and big businesses, executives siphon off various sums. We already mentioned some of this in Ukraine.
You may not know what the truth is, but you know what's not the truth based on what the news says.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, but we already were, just talking about this money that's all getting sucked out of everybody's pockets, and but when they're they said, Janet Yellen said there's going to be consequences to China unless they do what the United States.
What's that mean?
Yeah. What and I was sitting there thinking, you mean they're gonna do sanctions on China, and they're gonna China's gonna end up like Russia? They're already doing better than most every country on earth, so they're gonna do even better. So China's probably saying, yeah, bring those sanctions on. We want to improve our economy. I don't know. I think China makes everything, so you can't actually start making more things in China because they're already making everything.
They're buying a lot less bonds these days too, China, US bonds.
I mean, I imagine if China and Russia work together, they don't need any other country in the whole world.
Well, I think that's what Russia's, and even Belarus, that, as you noticed, Lukashenko, maybe every day, he's saying import substitution, and I think he's been doing it for years and talking about.
We've got like building projects that are managed by China.
Yeah, like there's that stadium I go by, and I guess people that come by, you know, when people are getting off work, and a lot of the people that are working building are African. So you have a lot of Chinese and black people coming out that are actually building it. But
the
it's
industrial park is mostly Chinese companies as well. Look how many Chinese cars on the road here.
And a lot of Chinese people.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
even just a few years ago, you didn't see nearly as many as there are now.
Yeah. Yeah, we already talked about that.
What about the Chinese police that Hungary said they're going to allow work in Hungary?
Really?
Yeah, I don't know much about it. Just I read that Hungary is going to start allowing Chinese police to work alongside Hungarian police. I mean, I'm not trying to say anything negative about China, but I wouldn't want any sort of foreign police in my country.
That could cause some problems. You're not kidding on that. Even if Hungary is one of the better countries, I feel sorry for
I think
Hungary.
last year they were complaining in America and in the UK, the Chinese had like shadow police forces in each country.
Well, I imagine that in the United States, like I'm from California, I think about things. Would probably have sleeper terrorist cells. Would probably have sleeper Chinese special forces cells. Would probably have Mexican cartel cells, and on the brink of a bad situation.
Yeah.
Let them in across the border. Come in.
On average, like 10,000 a day.
Yeah. I don't know about China having any, but
Why
some
wouldn't
of those
they?
other.
I would.
Well, you're right.
If I was in charge.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking, well, that doesn't seem to be their style. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. I just Russia wouldn't do that really either, I don't think. But obviously, as we all know, the West is doing that, and they've even advertised. I don't know if you saw. There's advertisements in Belarus to go to. I don't know if it was Riga or Vilnius or whatever to do training. And essentially, what it was to be a sleeper cell in Belarus.
I wouldn't let him come back.
Yeah.
I like what Lukashenko said a few years ago with the protesters. Well, let him leave. The question is just, do you let him come back?
Yeah. Well, I've noticed that he says that they're welcome back. One thing, if they don't have blood on their hands, like if they've caused deaths of Belarusians or maybe any people, I don't know. So I don't know what the other.
Well, and what's crazy is you talk to a lot of Belarusians here, especially the young ones. They go, "Oh, it's horrible. Like if you did any of the protest stuff, you go to prison." It's like, no, you don't. I've met so many youngsters here, and I know I'm pretty young, but they're all talking about this, and it's like, you're not in prison. Your friends aren't in prison. Your Instagram has that junk on it. There's girls that put it on their Tinder. These people aren't in prison. They only go to prison if they did something, above the ordinary protester. But I've also met a lot of people here. They got tossed in for 2 days. It was horrible. They had to take their clothes off. How horrible.
Gee, I've never been in the real world. See, that's what it is. They're protected. I mean,
they're so protected. They're isolated. They're in a little fantasy bubble.
They don't realize how good they have it here and what the real world is like. If they go live in the West for a little while and then they come back here and something like that happens to them, they'll kind of go, huh?
Well, what happens if you protest in any Western country in the whole world? Stuff happens.
Yeah.
You might get maced. You might get tear gas. You might get beat with a baton. You're going to get thrown in prison.
Well, there's.
I went to all the protests in London, and they were just beating shit out of people.
It's better than here they were a lot nicer to them than that.
Yeah. I was flying my drone over Independence Square. And,
when?
Before this started, luckily. And as I was landing it, they came and, blah, 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 and they detained me, took me to the police station. And they were really nice. And, essentially it was, don't do it again, stupid tourist.
I like the police here. They're like, in America, I'm kind of nervous around the police because it's kind of just this enemy mentality. Like they treat the citizens like their enemy.
Yeah.
Whereas here, it's just like the guy down the street. Oh, yeah. Vlad, he signed up to work as a cop now. Oh, Victoria's boyfriend, now he's a cop. Oh, cool. And you're hanging out with them. And
yeah, sometimes they, they're like really friendly and, otherwise, they're just, maybe when they're not friendly, but they're cordial. They don't.
Yeah, and I didn't mean that you're necessarily hanging out with police on the street. I just mean that they're like normal people, and you might even know a lot of people that work as police, and they're just average guys. You hang out.
Well, if California is like Washington, at least how I grew up, and I tell you what, people in my high school, some of them ended up with brain damage because they were hit on the head so hard by policemen and things like that. So, you know, they were like off afterwards. You know,
Luckily,
a couple people.
nothing so bad ever happened to me, but it's amazing how much things have changed. Because when I was, let's say, 16, so that's 10 years ago. I'm almost 27 now. If you were just out walking past curfew, there's a good chance you would end up slammed on the ground with a knee on your back, or slammed on their car. One time I was
curfew.
Walking, yeah, 10 p.m. curfew if you're under 18. I know lots of people that got beat up. I mean, not beat, but strongly physically harassed without actually being punched. And one time it wasn't that bad, but I got slammed on a police car hood. He put his knee in my back. He's yelling at me to stand up straight. And I'm like, I can't because your knee's on my back. He's like, stop being a smart. I don't know about the words for here, but
you smart ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
What about that video we saw last week with the guy where they shot, like, remember?
Oh my God. He was unarmed. And they just unloaded the whole
two of them
gun into this guy. He was like reaching into his shirt, bang, 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 and they just kept shooting him.
And then he was on the ground going, oh, and he's saying, stop moving.
Yeah, after he's got all these bullets in, he's like, oh, they said, stop moving. I don't know. They probably didn't have any bullets left to put more into them.
Imagine if a Belarusian went to America and they're driving their car and they get pulled over. They might even like take their seatbelt off or go out of their car.
I did that in Alaska because I used to live in Anchorage, right? In the first year, I stopped because, like in Australia, I stopped and I got out and the cop says, "What are you doing?"
You're lucky you didn't get shot.
Yeah, it's like what?
No kidding. Yeah. Some Germans came and visited, you know, in Washington State. And they were surprised. They bought a car because it was cheaper than renting. So they bought a big kind of a beater, I don't know, a car, and they were, you know, using that as to go around in Washington State, Seattle, and all that, you know, area. And they were pulled over by a policeman. Probably his light was out or something like that. And he said they were shocked because, you know, here's the door, and the police stands behind over here, you know, and they stick their hand like back here on their gun ready. And these guys were freaking out. I mean, this was, when was this? That was about, quite a long time ago. This was 1990s or something like that. And, you know, they were amazed how freaked out the police are there. And
I made sure to tell my wife, in America, you always keep your hands on the wheel. You don't take them off the wheel until they tell you can, because you don't know, you might really get shot. You don't know. Mm-hmm. But I started to say it's amazing how much things have changed, because 10 years ago, that happened for being out past curfew. Nowadays, you got kids driving their cars through the park and skidding, like doing donuts and stuff, tearing up all the grass in the public park.
That's what we did.
What if someone's out there walking at night? They're just going to slam right through them and kill them.
Yeah, we did that on the football field in our junior high school.
I mean, kids like to have fun, but still, I mean, a public park where people can be walking in the middle of the night, and these kids are just flooring their cars through there.
Yeah, we didn't do it in a park. We didn't do anything to actually hurt anybody, but, you know, I was quite mischievous when I was younger.
If you're not, you know, when you're a kid, something's wrong with you, probably.
Yeah, well, we deserve, you know, even when you're young, you steal apples. I mean, I don't know. It's weird because, you know, the Belarusian society, they don't raise kids to be that way. The way we were raised.
I worry about raising my kids here for that reason.
Because they're not mischievous and causing trouble.
I mean, I don't want them to cause bad trouble, but I want them to have some exploring and excitement and stuff.
Right. Well, yeah, I not ruin any property or harm anybody or nothing like that. But anyway, the police in Washington, I was going to say, I don't know, like California, but they swagger, they're walking and they're looking for trouble. They're looking like especially like teenagers or young people, you know, or black people, you know, that maybe bebop walking like this with a hoodie or whatever. They're looking for trouble.
Yep.
And they're looking for a fight, the police. But, you know, and it's like in Belarus, you know, I'm amazed because it's so different, because I remember in the States, the police are looking at you, you know, and stuff like this. And over here, it's like, well, how come they're not glancing at me or something? You know, they're like, you always feel you're being watched when you walk around.
Well, like you said, in the States, citizens are the enemy.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're not there to serve and protect.
And that's why he's good, because he comes up with these words and stuff. And
well, you know, it's an exception to that is one time I was wearing a Trump tank top, and I approached a group of police that were outside someone's house to just ask what's going on, and basically just was polite with me. said what happened. Some girl committed we don't know if it's suicide, drowned in a pool. 17-year-old girl drowned in her backyard somehow. But then yeah, he's been actually really nice to me and says, "I like your shirt." Like, I don't remember what exactly he said, but like, yeah, I hope things are gonna work out.
Yeah.
Actually, when I wore my Trump shirt in California, like I'd wear it to the gym, and just this guy comes up and starts saying good things to me. That guy comes up and starts saying good things. Everybody, like, you know, of course you get like also the nervous ones that come up and like really quietly, "Hey, I noticed your shirt." You get the ones that aren't nervous and come up. I wore it to the beach one time, and it made me really happy. There was a group of teenage boys like from high school, so like 16-year-olds, and they saw my shirt and they started going, "Trump, yeah."
So what do you think about the prospects of Tulsi Gabbard? I mean, what do you think about Tulsi Gabbard?
I don't know anything about her, actually.
Oh, she's great. Well, that would be something. Tulsi Gabbard and Donald Trump. She's not only beautiful, but she's got a complementary type of mindset to Trump. Except what I didn't like is she, like everybody has to. So I'm not blaming her, because like all the politicians, whether it's RFK Jr. or Ramaswamy or anybody, if you want a chance, you have to be, at least to a certain extent, pro-Israel. You know, so she is not, like, in other words, trashing Israel for, you know, being really brutal with the Palestinians. So
I'm not going to comment on Israel. I'm actually in an Israeli medical program here. And
okay, yeah.
when I signed up for it, it was, you know, Israeli-run program in Belarus. There's no mention of going to Israel.
Well, there's a lot of great things about Israel.
Oh, yeah,
I don't want to trash Israel as this what's going on there and against the Palestinians. In other ways, I think Israel is actually.
Oh, I would love to visit Israel someday.
Yeah.
But I signed up to study in Belarus. Now this Israeli program says, "Oh, you have to go to Israel."
You have to go to Israel.
Yeah. I'm not going to Israel, so I have to figure something else out.
Oh.
What, after you finished? Or during it?
No, I'm supposed to go in July.
Oh.
Wow.
And yeah, I was told to look for a different university. So I'm talking with the normal university people now, trying to figure it out. I don't like that kind of move.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, they have, and it's a really growing thing, and they're actually building a much bigger one. They have these small medical universities in St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the Caribbean. I don't know if that's an option for you.
I think they're pretty expensive, but also I don't know how it would transfer over. Even if I have to spend more time, I'm staying here, my wife's here, my life is here.
If you can, yeah.
Well, I certainly can. The question is just how much extra time would I have to spend doing different classes. But yeah, I didn't sign up, and so it's not to get off topic, but it even costs extra to study in Israel. It's like, what is going on here? Like, I signed a contract to pay this much money. All of a sudden, it's going to be twice as much money, and you want me to go to a war zone.
Wow. I hear, like, when I was in St. Vincent and they were shooting the Pirates of the Caribbean, you know, as an extra in there and all that, and there was some other people there, and their wife was studying in medical schools in St. Vincent, and you know, they were there, and maybe didn't have it. One was a lawyer from New York, and I don't know this other guy, but anyhow, they were there, and I don't know. They didn't say anything about the costs or nothing.
I looked up some of those Caribbean schools years ago, and it seemed like they were about $50,000 US per year.
Well, they were telling me about that they're going to have debt, so they got to pay that afterwards.
Standard tuition here is $5,000 per year. Special tuition is $10,000 per year.
In Belarus?
Yeah, if you want to be in like a special program like the one I'm in, which was supposed to be shorter than the normal one, but because I have a previous degree.
That's for foreigners, but the Belarusians don't have to pay.
It's free, or it's about $1,200 a year now if you don't want to have to do that government-assigned working for 5 years afterwards. But I think that's a great deal. Get the government-assigned working, get the free housing.
So if you were Belarusian, you could finish out your schooling here, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna. My intent is to finish it here, and my intent is to open my own laboratory here, develop certain things, and use them on people here.
Oh,
Because in the West, you develop things. It takes 10. Yeah, first of all, if you're someone like me, you'll never get your stuff through clinical trials because you have to be a multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical company where you got to have some good connections. But here, clinical trials, you can get them done in a couple years, I think.
yeah. There's a plant in, well, it's all over. It's in a lot of tropical places, but the amazing thing about this plant in the USA suppresses it big time. But I knew somebody, and his daughter was actually big in the government, and this guy, he was well known. He has 80 acres, and he's a farmer, and his wife is actually a doctor of some sort. But anyway, he had Hodgkin's lymphoma, and he was going all over trying to get rid of this cancer, and you know, he was terminal, and they said he's not going to make it and all that, and he's doing everything. And the last thing, it was like these pills or something, and he said they cost like $400 each. I don't know how many, or if he has to take one a day. I have no idea, but he said he can't afford that. So he tried something, a natural medicine that he'd heard, you know, people are saying, oh, this can work, you know, and I guess what happens, or the deal is that it has been known to cure, I think it was 11 types of cancers, at least 11, it might be more. Anyway, so he started cooking these leaves twice a day, and within a month he went back to his doctor, and they said your cancer's in remission, and another month after that it's gone.
I'd like to find out what those leaves are.
I can tell you, and I even brought some seeds, and I'm growing some plants at my home that way. I was given one to Dave here too, but
maybe eventually I'll isolate the stuff in my lab and figure out what it is that's in there.
They even have it at the botanical gardens here. They have two, and not to mention that, not only that, it's illegal to send those leaves out of that country.
Interesting.
But I had some sent in Paris, but my sister-in-law has to come and bring them. It's a, you know, you drink this tea with this stuff, and it's just amazing. I don't know if it's really old, you know, because it's been there since July, and the ones we have has been here 2 years, and we still have it.
At least if you get them in a lab, even if there's not enough to be used as a treatment, you could do tests on cells, figure out what the active ingredients are, and then chemically produce it.
Wow. So you're just the guy
Well, I don't have the lab right now because I was about.
But the guy with the interest of wanting to do this, it's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just a matter of money. Like, I have a certain plan for how I'm gonna do one thing, make money, so I can do more things to make more money to do more things. It's like you can't do stuff without money. So it's not just that I'm selfish and I want money. It's that I can't do all the stuff I want until I earn the money.
So how much do you need for the first step?
I'm set to do the first stuff. A friend of mine said he would help. You know, I have some of my own money, plus my friend said he'd help me out, plus he's interested in the thing I'm going to be doing. But I put a hold on ordering the equipment because I found a registrar of medical equipment that's registered in Belarus, and they don't necessarily update it all the time, so I need to figure out if this equipment is on this list, or else I should source the equipment from different sources. I found good deals. I prefer to order it from where I found a good Chinese source. I know some people think very poorly of China, but China makes everything nowadays, and I think they can
sometimes they have really good stuff, and sometimes you can get bad stuff. So
I think they can make simple lab equipment.
Yeah, well, there's some really good quality things comes out of China, obviously, and then there's some things that are, it's just the some things, and I would only say some that are like, I remember getting a can opener that could not open a can of anything, you know. So it's very nice and fancy looking, but it doesn't open up a can.
Quality I really like is like old American stuff or German stuff. I used to have an old American General Electric balance, and it only went to 2 past the decimal, but I trusted that thing more than a milligram balance, like those, you know, the
digital
cheap ones that you buy for $20 on Amazon. This General Electric one, it was just, it was solid. It was a piece of craftsmanship. It was precise. Sadly, I loaned it to someone. They knocked it off they put it on a shelf high up, knocked it off somehow, broke it. And old German stuff also is really good quality.
Oh, and some of the things that well, there's one, it's not that old, but there's a company, I'm also a dental technician, besides I was a farmer anyway. But
what
anyway,
does a dental technician do?
Makes dentures, like crowns, bridges, resin dentures, you know, that take out, you know, like full dentures, things like that. You know, it also depends on what country. If you learn in Holland, the ones that are full dentures, that's a different job, you know, and they do also implants, which is very strange. They do full dentures and implants. But I can see how that. But it's it's not interesting for anybody listening for me to tell you how they related to each other compared to other things. But yeah. But anyway, there's a company. I can even remember the name, and it's fabulous, called Harnish and Reef, and all their equipment, it lasts forever. And then there's other companies that are also really good, like you get these pieces of metal. It's just kind of like a disc, and it's basically all it is a disc of metal, and the metal is so high quality. You get American ones, and they start rusting immediately the first use. And these other ones, you can be using them, I don't know, maybe forever, and they won't rust. The stainless steel is so good. And the American ones, I don't know, they're not making them from stainless steel or something. And the German ones they make them for you to keep using them for forever.
Nice when things are meant to last, not just cheap junk. But just a quick thing I want to throw out there for anyone listening is what seems to be the best cancer treatment, at least for a lot of cancers. I don't know about for Hodgkin's or non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, but CAR T-cell therapy. You guys heard about it? So you genetically modify T cells to, instead of attacking some random bacteria that infects you, to attack the cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it can't get rid of all cancers. Some cancers it can't really penetrate super well. I'm not an expert on CAR T cells. I know plenty about them in general. I've also met lots of people that worked on them personally. Got to know about the personal results that they got on top of public stuff. But it get one injection and you get rid of 99.99% of that cancer. Now, theoretically, you wait 30, 40, 50 years, 100 years, there's going to be a very, very, very small percentage that it didn't kill that may eventually grow back. But in other words, with our current human lifespan, one injection, no more cancer. But it costs $500,000 in the United States.
Oh, gosh, dang.
I know one, actually, I indirectly know somebody, because I know somebody and his good friend got this treatment all good after the first injection.
Wow.
That's what I would be getting if I needed to.
Yeah, J.P. Morgan came out and said that the U.S. is facing the worst financial risk since World War II. So there are going to be some people that won't be able to afford that.
Well, the key is know some local scientist who can maybe make it for you for a lot less than $500,000, because it's not hard to do.
Well, if you do it like in a country like this, or maybe Russia, or
Belarus
China
is doing it, actually.
Yeah, they can do things, and it's like I said, the U.S. is
cost
all
you?
about making money. Money.
Sadly, I know a young girl who could have benefited a lot from it died the day before her 21st birthday. Don't quote me on that. It may have been the day before her 22nd birthday. Rapid cancer. Basically, long story short, took over the whole body, dead in months.
Jeez. Do you ever ask or try to find out if these people are vaccinated or?
This girl, I'm not sure. I don't think she was. I don't know why. Most of the people I know didn't get vaccinated for it, but I'll ask.
Well, we're still on YouTube, so I mean, that's okay to ask, isn't it?
I don't know. Who knows?
So we'll find out.
Who knows? We'll find out later.
I don't think she. I mean, I'll actually find out. Maybe I'll mention it while we're still on this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you. But yeah, we can. How much time? Well, should I run through some of this stuff?
Yeah, just run through quick.
Okay, we have another video of Lloyd Austin, and he.
This one?
Yeah, it's something about CIA and NATO. Let's hear what he has to say here.
I heard Secretary Blinken say last week in Brussels that Ukraine will soon be in NATO. You agree with that?
That's the goal of the NATO members, is to at some
and the
point
US?
Bring Ukraine
to go after
into
Russia?
NATO, and that's certainly something that Ukraine wants to see.
If you're Russia, would you want that? I'm just asking. I mean, we're playing games with Russia right now. I just want to understand why we would do that.
Certainly, if I was Russia, I would not want that, Senator. I would also not want Finland and Sweden to be a part of NATO, and they are. And the reason that they are is because Putin invaded his neighbor, and without provocation, without justification.
Killing 14,000 people is no provocation.
That's why we are where we are.
U.S. taking over the country,
and
no provocation.
Instead of making
flooding
things,
Ukraine with weapons
himself,
and
he
bombing the Donbass, killing 14,000 is no provocation.
Which obviously creates worse conditions for him.
Do we have 12 CIA bases in Ukraine? Can you answer that in this setting?
CIA bases.
Mhm.
I'll
To
defer that-
coordinate
this
with
out
the
of the New York
Department of
Times, which I
Defense
don't
that
read
you're
very
the head of.
often.
I'll defer that question to the director of the CIA. Senator.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, because they're coordinating with the Department of Defense, and I never heard that before. You see the look on his face? It's incredible.
They always defer to somebody else.
Yeah, well, when they can, it's always say, well, defer it, say, I don't recall, like Hillary Clinton.
Or you gotta love that press secretary of Biden's that just doesn't answer questions. Oh, we're not answering that.
Jean-Pierre. Yeah, she's cute, but, she's
She makes
also,
my blood boil.
yeah, she's kind of like, yeah, but it shows, yes, if I was Russia, I wouldn't like that either. In other words, you're trying to provoke Russia. You know that they don't like that. They have nuclear weapons, and you know that Russia is not going to like that. So then why are you doing that? It's like,
Well, how would we like if Russia took over Mexico and started building military bases there and bioweapons labs and who knows what else?
yeah, that's another thing.
And rallying the Mexicans against us, getting them to hate us, building up an army.
Yeah. Yeah, bioweapons. We can't say, well, yeah. I don't know. I was kicked off for that, but you did not say that anybody's
Doesn't
actually
matter.
doing it. Yeah, so that's good. Yeah. Yeah, 14,000 people they killed in the Donbass area. And what was it? And the Minsk agreement, they didn't think they had to follow that. And, they're just, these are not provocations, flooding them with weapons. And
Yeah, I remember when I visited Ukraine back in 2018, it was a certain way. Then I visited in 2019, and all of a sudden there's army everywhere. In 2018, they had all the advertisements for like joining the army and like promoting it. Then in 2019, when I went, there's army everywhere. Even you got these bulldog women that were in their army uniforms walking around looking all tough. But yeah, those advertisements worked, or whatever they did worked to get a lot of people joining the army.
yeah, I tell you, a lot of this stuff, if you start looking, I mean, you always have to look back in retrospect and say, well, yeah, they were starting some of this kind of stuff that leads to that, to step two.
Well, they start everything
back in the
ahead of
past.
time. Like, I don't know if you guys remember before, maybe it was about a year before the virus. I don't know if we're supposed to say the name of it, but they started this anti-vaxxer thing, like talking about old eradicated diseases popping back up into existence in like Los Angeles and saying that, oh, it's because people don't want to get vaccinated for it. Even I was like, yeah, people need, I mean, 'cause there are certain vaccines that people should take. There are bad things out there that luckily we have controlled with modern vaccines. So even I was like, yeah, these people are being stupid. They should take these vaccines. It's dangerous when people don't take certain vaccines. And they got everyone rallied up against this. There was even memes about it, I remember, in California. And all of a sudden, what happens right afterwards?
Yeah.
Did you guys remember? Do you remember that, or did you see?
No, I was living in London, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, in Los Angeles, it was big because Los Angeles gets a lot of these weird diseases from people from like Mexico and South America.
England's getting diseases now, but that's ones they haven't seen for hundreds of years because of all these illegal immigrants coming across.
Yeah, it's like somewhere in America they got, I think, bubonic plague recently. Somebody.
Jeez, yeah. I remember from Southern California. You're from Southern California? I think these were from Loma Linda or Linda Loma or whatever. It's probably Seventh-day Adventist, and they were Seventh-day Adventist doctors, and that came out on YouTube, and it got immediately 1 million views, and it was like wow, and it anyway, I saw that, and they were talking about some statistics of a sickness going around that was around 2020 and all this sort of a thing. And then they, but it's, I don't know, they took them off right away. And I think that was one of the first ones because they were coming out with facts, real facts. These guys had degrees in virology and all that. So
what's interesting is how early some Chinese knew about this, because I had some Chinese classmates, actually in a Russian class of mine in California, and when we started our new semester, which would have been in like January, I think it began like January 2nd or something, some of the Chinese students weren't in my class that semester, and I saw them walking around outside, and they go, "Hey, what happened? How come you're not in our class?" And they told me, and they said, "And it's a good thing. Like right now, there's this new flu going around China. You don't want us in your class." And this was January, early January.
Yeah, felt sorry for a lot of these Chinese because a lot of them looking like like people are shunning them or something like that. I don't know. And how this come about and who, and actually, I don't know. Do you think we should cut off of YouTube now? Tell people to go to Rumble?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, probably.
So everybody, we're going to cut you off on YouTube because we're going to start talking about things they don't like. So if you can just hang on.
Yeah.
Rush over to Rumble. I'll put the
script up there.
The address in the chat in YouTube.
I hope I haven't said anything that can cause problems.
Me either.
I wasn't. I thought you quickly switched to Rumble. I didn't know how you guys did things.
Oh, we were on Rumble, but it's like also YouTube. And see, we one time we didn't really even say anything, and they gave us a strike. So
all that has to happen is somebody gets the feeling that you're one of those people, and they report your video on YouTube.
That's what Dave is saying, that somebody reported us.
Yeah. Someone just doesn't like you. They think you're one of them.
Yeah.
It's like I got this guy in the grocery store yelling at me in the summer. Actually, it was a year. I guess that's almost a year ago. I didn't have a mask on. Like, why would I? And this one guy, the girl asked me, "Do you want a bag?" And he goes, "Yeah, you should get one." And I go, "Yeah, I'm gonna get a bag." I said, "Give me a bag." And he's like, "Yeah, because you should put it over your head." And I'm like, "What? Why should I put it over my head?" He's like, "Because you're the virus. You're the reason. You're blah, 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 blah."
Okay, everybody, we're going to cut you off on YouTube now. So if you can come over to Rumble, I'll put the address in the chat, and we'll carry on this conversation. Thank you for watching.
Yeah. I've only watched you guys on Rumble.
Yeah, because